Hi guys, welcome back to the Curly Reader. So today I'm going to do the 2 books with 1 stone book tag. This is a book tag that was originally created by Sean the Book Maniac, and it seemed like a lot of fun, so I thought I'd go ahead and jump on board. So the whole premise of this is everything is done in 2s. So whether you name 2 books or 2 of something. So let's go ahead and jump in and get started. All right, so the first prompt is the second to last book that you read. And for me, this one is a graphic novel that I picked up from the library, and this is Tom's Midnight Garden. It's a graphic adaptation of the Philippa Pierce classic, and this is by Edith, one name. This is about a little boy who goes to stay with his aunt and uncle for a period of time, and he's really bored. They won't let him leave, and so one night he notices that the grandfather clock actually tolls 13 times at midnight, and so he goes downstairs to check it out and opens the back door and finds a huge garden outside. And during the day, typically it's just a concrete slab. So it's kind of this magical garden that he goes into every night and kind of what happens from there. It was okay. It wasn't the best graphic novel I've ever read. It's pretty short. It's a children's graphic novel, but it was good. So that was the second to last book that I have finished. All right, number 2 is the second book from the top of your TBR. So I'm guessing that that's like the next book after the book I finished reading, or the book after that. The next book I'm going to be reading is After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and then after that, my plan is to start with The Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. It's her brand new book that just came out, and so I'm really excited to check that out. I read last year, or earlier this year, The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo, and I really loved it, so I'm excited to check that one out. So those are the next 2 books that I'm planning on reading after I finish my current read. Number 3 is 2 2-star reads. All right, this one for me, thank goodness for Goodreads, because I can just go and sort by star rating. But the first one that I'm going to mention is Brazen, Rebel Ladies Who Rock the World by Penelope Bagu, maybe, I think is how you pronounce her name. This was a graphic novel that I read last year, and I did not like it. It was about all these different ladies in history and how they rocked the world. And that I didn't have a problem with. I really enjoyed learning about the ladies. A lot of them I had never heard about before. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. The thing that I had a problem with this book is it was very anti-male anything. It was so heavily skewed feminism that it was almost distasteful. I don't have a problem with the feminist movement and all that, and promoting females, but when you're insinuating that females can do things and males can't to get ahead in their jobs and things like that, I think that's wrong. And this book definitely did that. In almost every single one of the stories, it had some comment or panel in the graphic novels, the little squares, where it's showing that the male was doing something wrong when they really weren't. I did not like this book at all. It was just way too skewed for my personal opinion. So I gave that one 2 stars. The other one is a very unpopular opinion, and that's going to be Educated by Tara Westover. A lot of people love this book and rave about it. I'm not one of those people. I really did not like this book at all. I found this book to be misleading in its synopsis. I could probably do a whole video on why I did not like this book. But to sum it up, I'll just say that for me personally, This book read as if the author had a bone to pick with her parents about her upbringing, and she was spiteful, and she was trying to kind of throw them under the bus. I felt like this book was marketed towards she lived with survivalist parents, which she didn't. They were a little odd. They were eccentric. They had different beliefs, but they were not survivalists. They had a TV. They had a phone. They run a multi-million-dollar essential oils business. They're not survivalists. I didn't agree with that. I felt like there was a big chunk of this book that was missing. The way that this book read, it seemed like, this girl who had no formal education got into Brigham Young, which is fine, but she went from failing a math class to getting a scholarship to go to a university in England that's a very prestigious scholarship like that. And so I feel like there was a kind of a disconnect there with the education aspect of the book. And so I felt like she really focused on her childhood and her upbringing and all the horrible things that happened to her. And I'm not negating that. She went through some crazy stuff. I'm not negating that. Where it kind of got for me was when there was no connection into how she progressed in her education. There was no explanation for how she learned all these new things. And so I did not care for it at all. It was not for me. I'd be interested to hear if any of you felt the same way as me about this, or if you think I'm totally off my rocker. So anyway, that's how I feel about Educated. So that was my answer for number 3. All right, number 4 is 2 great books by the same author. And for this one, I'm going to have to say The Storyteller and Small Great Things, both by Jodi Picoult. This one's historical fiction. This one talks about race relations. They're both fantastic. I love them. I realized when I was going through books trying to find answers to these that I don't read a lot of repeat authors. I have hardly, that aren't series. I don't have a lot. So I should probably start reading some more books by some of my favorite authors. Number 5 is 2 books that you bailed on or that you wish you would have bailed on. So for this, I'm going to say Wonder Woman Warbringer by Leigh Bardugo. That's a YA book. They've been doing all these stories about different superheroes, and that was one that I tried reading because I like all of Leigh Bardugo's other stuff. I didn't really care for it. I quit. I DNF'd it. I have no intention of going back to it. The other one that I'm going to mention for this is The Unwanteds by Lisa McMahon. This is a middle grade fantasy book that I tried on audio. It had just been on my radar. It had been on my TBR, and I gave it a whirl. I didn't really click with it. I DNF'd it. I don't really ever plan on going back to it. It just wasn't my thing. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't my thing. So yeah, so those are my 2 answers for that one. Number 6 is your 2 favorite reads this year. And so for this one, I'm going to have to say Unbroken by Laura Hillenbrand, which I raved about during my April wrap-ups. You can go see that video for all my gush session about that. And then my other favorite one so far this year has to be Sweep, A Story of a Girl and Her Monster by Jonathan Auxier. And I read this. This was the group read during middle grade March. And that book was so good. It is a story of Nan, who is a chimney sweep during Victorian London, England. And just her adventure with her Gollum buddy, Charlie. And so it was beautiful and lovely. And you should definitely read it because it's amazing. All right, so that was number 6. Number 7 is to name your 2 favorite new booktubers. And so this is kind of hard for me because I've started following a lot of new people since I've started my channel. So for this one, I'm going to mention Tia from Tia and All the Books. She was one of the first people that reached out to me when I started my channel. And so she's another mom who is doing this thing, and so booktube thing, and so like to show her some love. And then my other favorite that I've recently found upon the recommendation from Krista at Books and Jams is Emily from Books for Life. And I will tag, obviously, both of their channels down below, but they are both fantastic. Emily is a high school, I think, English teacher, and so she talks a lot about her library that she has for her students and just different books, and she's full of energy, and I love her energy, and I enjoy watching her videos. So those are my two new favorites. All right, number 8 is a book that you've read twice. Now, if you read my Getting to Know Me video that I posted early on, you'll know that I do not reread books. In fact, there is only one book that I could even mention for this, and that is, let me see, where did I put it? Timeline by Michael Crichton. This is a story about people who learn to time travel, and they time travel back to France. It's a great book. I love it. Only one I've ever reread in my adult life that I can recall. So there you go. Michael Crichton for the win. All right, number 9. Number 9 is to name or mention 2 of your favorite quotes from books that you've read recently. So for this one, I'm going to mention a quote from Sweep, and it says that's how it works, doesn't it? We are saved by saving others. And that's pretty much the tagline for the entire book, and it's beautiful, and I love that, and I think there's so much truth to that we find purpose in ourselves by helping others. And so that's my first one. My second one is actually from a graphic novel that I read last year, I think. And that graphic novel is Page by Page by Laura Lee Gullidge. And the quote that I would like to mention is this: I suppose all moms have an idea who they hope their daughters will be. Like a connect the dots picture where you think you know what shape it will become, but then it's the daughter who draws the lines, and she might connect the dots you didn't intend, making a whole different picture. So I've got to trust the dots she's given me, and she's got to trust me to draw the picture myself. This is obviously told from the perspective of the daughter. I love that quote to the point where I wrote it down, and it's just something that really resonated with me as a parent, that's my job, is to give my kids the dots. But it's not my job to connect the dots for them. They have to do that themselves. And so that was just something really special that I took from a teenage graphic novel. So never be discriminatory about what you read. You might find special gems in places you didn't know you could. All right, number 10 is to tag a number of booktubers, and the number of people that you tag must be divisible by 2. So for this, I am going to tag Tia from Tia and All the Books and Emily from Books for Life. I'm also going to tag Sarah from Sarah's Nightstand and Lindsay from Lindsay's Little Library, Krista from Books and Jams, Leslie at Leslie Ring, Cozy Reader Kelly, and Audra Reed. These are all channels that I've really enjoyed, and I hope that these ladies do this book tag because I think it's interesting and a little different and a lot of fun. So if you have any comments about any of the books that I mentioned, I'd love to hear from you. I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope that you stick around and subscribe. And until next time, see ya!